Okay, this is part 3. Technology has always been a challenge for me, so I'm just going to conclude with some thoughts on how I met my husband. So we met on that flight, and we talked the entire flight, and then um, he had given me his card because he worked at a kayak shop on the weekends, and I didn't want to give him my business card. I mean, I gave him my business card, but I didn't want him to call me at work because I was going to be on vacation for the next week and a half. Like, I was coming home and then I was off, and I didn't know what I was going to do. It was a new year, 2000, I didn't know what I was going to do for New Year's. I mean, I did have plans for New Year's, but I was like a third wheel. I did that a lot because I wasn't dating for 2 years. Um, but I didn't know what I was going to do with all that free time. And it turned out he was returning around the same time, and he had the same amount of time free. So before he left, middle of the busy Atlanta airport, we kind of parted, and then we came back together, and I grabbed the ticket jacket of his ticket, and I just said, here's my cell number, or here's my home number, because at the time cells weren't as prevalent as they are now. Here's my home number. Don't call me at work because I'm not going to be checking my voicemails. So when you get back, since we're getting back on the same day, give me a call and we'll get together or whatever. And so we left. We parted. He went on and got on his flight. He realized he had almost missed his flight, so he had to go quickly. And when I got to my sister's, which took all night, my travel troubles continued. I board my next flight to go to Augusta, and we're on the tarmac for like an hour, and then they deplaned us and bussed us into Augusta. So I didn't get into Augusta until like 6 a.m. I was up all night. But I knew something miraculous had just happened. I just knew it. It was like I knew in my heart that he was special. And so, and the story continued from there. And on his side, his parents said they couldn't believe he was excited to get back to Florida because when he boarded the flight, he had his resumes. He was going to go back to upstate New York. He wasn't going to stay in Florida because he'd been there 2 years and hadn't met anybody. And here I'd been single for 2 years and hadn't met anybody. So there was a lot of similarities. There was a lot of aligning of things. And at the time, again, I was reading The Tibetan Art of Living and Dying, so I didn't know what I believed. And but I was on this search ever since my parents died, because this was 1999, December 22nd of 1999. My parents had died in 1994. So fast forward, I knew after our first date. I mean, I really did know. I think I maybe knew when I saw him, but I knew that he was a gift in my life, and I knew it was from God. See, I'd always believed in God. I just didn't believe in man's conception of God. And that kind of continues to this day. Even though I'm a member of a church, I joined a church, I got baptized, I did the whole 9 yards because that's the entrance, right? But my life really changed February 22nd of 2000. I met my husband 3 months prior to that, December 22nd to February 22nd, exactly 3 months. And February 22nd of 2000 just happens to be the anniversary of my mother's death. Not 2000, 1994, but February 22nd. So on February 22nd, I'm driving to work. I had already been asking God to show me which way he wanted me to go, because there's a lot of teachers out there. And when you're outside the kingdom, you don't realize there's a lot of different options. And I studied all of them. I went to various churches. I went to, but it wasn't until I was driving to work, God revealed himself to me. Now, don't wait for that. That is not usual. I didn't know that it wasn't usual, but the risen Christ appeared in the passenger seat of my Jeep Wrangler that I was driving to work. And it wasn't like I saw him, but I knew the presence, and all he said was, I am. And now I didn't know anything other than it was Christ, right? And so all I knew is I came home that night. My boyfriend at the time, we weren't even engaged. He was going to meet me. We were going to go out to dinner. And so he was at my house, and I told him, oh, by the way, we talked about our days. And I said, by the way, Christ appeared to me on the way to work. And I'm sure it was shocking to him, but I'm very matter of fact. You'll find that about me. I don't mince words. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. So I'm only sharing this because it's part of the story. Because my mother had always been, she used to fly to Florida and take me to church, and I just didn't want any part of it. I didn't want any part of it. My friends invited me to go to church after my parents died because they knew I was seeking. But I went to be polite, but I wasn't buying into it. I'm like, what makes that guy the guy standing up there, the master? Or what makes him, why should I listen to him? Was my question. So you might have those same questions. I don't know. All I know is, as soon as I had that revelation, and then I made the subsequent steps, right? Nothing happens without action. If you know anything from me, it's that when you get revelation, you have to act on it. And I've never had a problem doing that. I acted on when I met my husband. I saw him in the airport, and then I gave him my number. I took action. Nothing happens without action. If I hadn't given him my number, I don't know if we'd have gotten together. You know what I mean? So you have to take action when inspired. Inspired action. I was inspired to make these videos today. That's why I'm making them. And I always know that when I'm doing something important, just like when I met my husband, obstacles come up left and right. I couldn't find a flight out to save my life. I had to be open to flying out of West Palm Beach to meet my husband. It doesn't align perfectly. And sometimes some of the greatest things happens with the most resistance. So this whole thing about a resistance-free life is kind of hogwash. Because if sometimes when things are going wrong, it's because the biggest blessing is on the other side of that. So I'm here to give you hope that maybe your first marriage didn't work out, or God forbid, maybe your second marriage didn't work out, but still you can have hope in him that he has a good plan for you. My husband's the best thing that ever happened to me, and I know he's a gift from God to me before I even knew him. Before I was following the one, what I believe to be the one true God. There's one God. There's one maker of heaven and earth. In my opinion, that's my opinion. But it's been proven to me. I mean, I had an experience with the risen Christ. Not the one a lot of churches keep putting on the cross. The risen Christ. And that's why I follow him. And for some reason, even though I was meditating for an hour at night, following the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, I couldn't hear God until I accepted Christ. I accepted Christ, and now I can hear from him. Left, right, this way, that way. Do a video today. Start a YouTube channel in the middle of doing my taxes. I did not want to start a YouTube channel in the middle of doing my taxes. If you look at my very first video, you'll see I did not want to do it. Get into the industry I'm currently in. He forced me to get into that industry. And when I didn't listen, 4 months later, he called my husband out of his job. And then I had to do it. I had to learn how to do it. And now I love it because he knew better than I did. So guys, I guess the point is there's a lot of people out there saying that, you create your own reality. And in some sense, you do. That is the truth. Because I teach that. I teach that you have control over your emotions, and you do have control over your emotions. But as far as the overall design and the way you've been gifted, I believe there's only one person who knows that, who knows me better than I know myself. He knew me better than I knew myself. My mother knew me better than I knew myself. I was dating the guy in college for 5 years, and my mother said to me, I don't think he'll ever make you happy. Because she knew me. And she used to say to me, she had done, Avon at the end of her life. She was doing Avon. And she goes, Melanie, I think you should look at this. But see, the thing is, I never liked makeup. So she goes, I think you need to look at this because you're not going to want to work this hard when you have your own family. And she was right. I want to be there for my family. I saw what not being there did for my parents' relationship. They got divorced when I was 3 years old because my dad was never there. He was never home. He was always working to promote himself in his career. And he got really high up in the career, and it moved us to Pennsylvania, which is where I was born. So, but all that worked together, even my parents' divorce and me watching the impact of that on our income, on our life, taught me valuable lessons about life. So all things truly do work together for good when you trust him. Now, if you're listening to this and you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's because it's closed to you right now. That's okay. It's okay. If you have questions, comment. I will answer your questions. If you think I'm full of crap, just stop watching. I don't like criticism. I'll be honest. I say this in a lot of my videos. If you have something negative to say, don't say it to me. Don't share my videos with anybody if you don't believe in it. Or share if you feel led to, but don't criticize me. I won't criticize you if you don't criticize me. So, does that sound like a deal? I'll love you unconditionally if you love me unconditionally. I'm just doing my best here to try to help people. So whether you like it or not, that's fine. I know I will not know many people that watch these videos. I can tell by the viewings. I can't figure out who's watching them and who's not. I'm just putting out what's my results are. What's happened to me in my life, how I found the perfect man for me. Now, what makes him perfect was that he met almost everything on my list, but I didn't create him. God did. So God's rules and his kingdom operates on laws. There are laws, like the law of reaping and sowing. If you're in the kingdom, that is the law that you need to pay attention to. You'll reap only what you sow. If you sow a bunch of criticism and steal people's spouses and steal people's boyfriends, that will be done to you. You'll reap what you sow. If you criticize people, if you're judgmental of me, guess what? That will come back on you. You will have people that judge you. You need to ask yourself, am I reaping or am I sowing? I'm sowing good stuff. I'm very conscious of what I say, the words I speak to myself and to others, because I like to sow good seed that will reproduce itself. I mean, my prayer is that you would share these videos with people if you think this is going to help them, because you've now spent time and watched it. It's 12 minutes, so I got to go. But this is part 3 of how I met my husband and thoughts, closing thoughts. God bless everybody. Have a great day. Bye.